Good morning, Peterborough. My name is Jim Tubb, and it is time for your SportsBreak broadcasted on 92.7 C Triple FM through the facilities here of Trent Radio in Peterborough, Canada. This show, of course, can be streamed online at trentradio.ca, or you can follow what we're talking about on Twitter at SportsBreakTR. The weather outside today is I'll say chilly, 0 degrees. It's certainly not positive, certainly not negative. I actually don't know what 0 is in, that's a long time ago, numerical terms, if it's positive or negative. 0 is its own special snowflake. We'll go with that. It can be whatever it wants to be. It can be whatever you want it to be, ladies and gentlemen. But it's a nice day here in Peterborough. To break it all down from a fundamental standpoint, it's a nice day. Looks like a nice week coming up. Doesn't look too cold, doesn't look too hot. Spring. It's spring weather. I don't know what else to say there. It is still a beautiful day to talk about sports, ladies and gentlemen. I would challenge you to find a day that's not. A day that's not a beautiful day to talk about sports. You probably can't find one. And if, in your opinion, you can, keep it to yourself. Don't ruin it for the rest of us. Big week since last Tuesday. Of course, the MLB season started on Thursday. We were treated to that. The NHL playoffs are almost here. Like, literally in the next 2 weeks, we will have NHL playoff. We have playoff hockey. Some would say, a smart person would say, which means me, playoff hockey, the best hockey. It's coming up very soon. It's the best time of year. The MLB season starts. NHL playoffs. The NBA playoffs are coming up. And it looks like both Toronto teams are going to be in the playoffs. Spoiler for the show, the Leafs clinched a playoff spot last night. Believe it or not, we're going to talk about it. But they weren't the only team that's clinched. There's a lot of teams that's clinched. Of course, we talked about it last week and every week prior. Winnipeg clinched, Boston, Tampa. And with Tampa, they've not only clinched a playoff spot, they have become the third team ever to win 60 games. They won it last night. Do I know who they beat last night? Nope. They beat Ottawa 5-2. You prepare for the show, but you don't prepare enough, I guess, in my opinion. Their 60 wins are tied with the 77 Montreal Canadiens, and they're just 2 victories back of the 96 Detroit Red Wings for 62 wins. With 3 games left on the schedule, they could surpass the Detroit mark and become the most winningest team in NHL history. I think that's the proper way to say it. Like, they would become the team that's won the most games in 1 year. This is very, Tampa has the shootout to win more games in. Those 2 teams would have dealt with overtime and ties. The latter, the Montreal one, would deal with ties. But the most interesting part about the difference between, say, Montreal having 60 wins, the 77 Montreal Canadiens, 77 Montreal Canadiens having 60 wins, and the 96 Red Wings having 62 wins, neither team had a salary cap. So to the fact that the Tampa Bay Lightning can get 60 wins and have this monstrous team and still fit under the salary cap is either they're paying people under the table, London Knights, ? No. It's just amazing that they can do this under the salary cap. This is truly the best team in the league. Could be the best team of all time. It's up there at least with some of the best teams. I don't know how John Cooper doesn't win the Coach of the Year. I should know the name of the trophy or the award. I don't. Nikita Kucherov could easily win the MVP. Andrei Vasilevsky could easily win the Vezina. Victor Hedman could easily win the Norris. It could just be a team of championships. It's the John Adams for the, I believe it's the John Adams. Just looking it up here on live air. Nope, it's not John Adams. You know what? You can figure it out at home, and that'll make the experience more involving. You get to be like, hey, I knew it, and that idiot didn't. And that's when I go, you're right. Nope, you're completely right. Tampa, 60 wins, good for them, clinched that last night. The one thing they are missing is Victor Hedman. Defenseman, the number one defenseman, top 5 defenseman in the league. He's been nursing an upper body injury, according to John Cooper, and they don't believe he's going to return for the regular season. There's also not many games left in the regular season. They're hopeful he will return for the start of the playoffs. Now, in my opinion, hopeful to return for the start of the playoffs. I don't think he's going to be ready for the start of the playoffs. Just that wording. We've heard that in the past. And when you hear wording like that, it all usually means like, yeah, he could be back. Don't think he's not going to be, but yeah, you never know. He could be back. They could be missing him for a couple games. And for a team like Tampa, maybe that's not I almost said maybe that's not a terrible thing. You never want to miss your number one defenseman. But if any team could survive it, it would be them. They could, for a couple games at least, go without him. They have other puck-moving defensemen. It would be completely different if, say, the Leafs were missing Morgan Rielly for the first 2 or 3 games in the first-round series. They would have a very tough time trying to beat Boston or any team. It would just be difficult for them. But Tampa being so deep, so good, they can live without him for a little bit. Of course, you want him back. And Tampa Bay, of course, clinching the President's Trophy. The Calgary Flames clinched the top spot in the Western Conference with a win over the San Jose Sharks on Sunday. This is the first time they've clinched the Western Conference since 89-90. Of course, they have home ice advantage to the first round. Great season for the Flames last year, who, of course, didn't make the playoffs. They have 49 wins this season, for the second most wins in franchise history. I'll be honest, I never think of the Calgary Flames as a very, this is going to make a lot of people mad, as a prestigious franchise. Like, they just don't strike me as that. And to think, I always forget about Jerome McGinley, because I barely watch Jerome McGinley play. Of course, I didn't get to see Lanny McDonald win with them when they won. What year that was? That was in the 90s, I believe. It's just I've always known Calgary kind of as this team that was almost there. They'd make the playoffs, but almost. Actually, since 89 they won the Stanley Cup. My bad. But same with there's a lot of teams like that. St. Louis, well, for everyone, they'll make the playoffs, get close, and then they're no, we're not going to win. And then there's teams like Chicago, Pittsburgh, LA, just win and win. Boston. But yeah, good for Calgary clinching top in the Western Conference. It's going to be an amazing playoffs this year with the amount of teams that have clinched and who have clinched. There's no real good segue into this. The Canadian Women's Hockey League has announced that they will discontinue operations effective May 1st due to financial concerns. Their quote is saying, unfortunately, the business model that has been the foundation of the league is not sustainable financially. Of course, the league was founded in 2007. It comprised of 6 teams, 4 in Canada, Toronto, Markham, Montreal, and Calgary, 1 in the States in Worcester, and 1 in China in Shenzhen. Yeah. The National Women's Hockey League, which contains 5 teams, all in the United States, is now the lone professional women's hockey league in North America. You hate to see it sounds cheap and unappreciative. Women deserve their own national league. They deserve to play at the highest compete level, highest level of skill, like the men do. And to see this league taken away, you don't want to see it. It doesn't help. But as Haley Wickenheiser said yesterday, maybe it doesn't help now, but one step backwards, 2 steps forward. 2 steps forward. I don't know why I had to think so long about that quote. Yeah, hopefully this in the end it'll work. I can see it in the end it'll work out, but hopefully it's sooner rather than later that it works out and they get a league that they can play in again, or another for Canadian players to go, that they don't have to go to the States. But I guess maybe that's what it is for now, is to go to the States and build a league that way. But yeah, we'll have to watch out on that in the next couple of years, and hopefully it gets resolved very soon. The Arizona Coyotes re-signed Nick Schmaltz to a 7-year extension worth $41 million. That's the average annual value of $5.85 million. In case you're wondering, I did that math in my head. No, I didn't. It's on the page in front of me. This is, of course, was the guy that they traded. They got from Chicago earlier this season when they traded Dylan Strome and Brandon Perlini. Dylan Strome, of course, has performed pretty good in Chicago. Kind of awoken from. Oh, that was my phone. Sorry. His kind of like lackluster play in Arizona, but Arizona gets a guy that can help them score and try to help them get into the playoffs now. Whereas Strome not performing doesn't help him at all. Help them at all. And with the playoffs coming up, of course, we look at the teams that are not going to make the playoffs. In the East, it's pretty much like half of the East. And in the West, it's just the wild card positions that are open. But one team last night that was finally eliminated from playoff contention was the Edmonton Oilers, who, like, theoretically and, like, in our minds, they were eliminated in December or, like, October. No, not October. The season starts in October. Silly. In December, January. But they were officially eliminated last night. And the Edmonton Oilers are the first team to have two 100-point scorers and miss the playoffs since the 89-90 Pittsburgh Penguins, who had Mario Lemieux and Paul Coffey. Of course, it's Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl who are the 200-goal scorers. You just got to look at the Edmonton Oilers and say, what are you going to do? Like, they had a general manager that kind of screwed around with them and made this team that just isn't good enough. Just by the way he thought hockey worked, and it doesn't work that way anymore. And now here they are. We'll have to see what happens next year, this offseason, who they bring in as general manager, if Ken Hitchcock's going to stay as the head coach, or what's going to happen there. Just heading in here to the final week of the NHL season, the draft lottery odds have been released, and if you're an Ottawa Senators fan and you haven't already plugged your ears because you don't want to listen anymore, plug your ears now. They, of course, have the highest chance at the number one pick with an 18.5% chance. Of course, if they get the first whatever pick they get in this draft goes to the Colorado Avalanche. From the Matt Duchene deal. So, if you're Ottawa, you kind of don't want to get the first. You want to get the second or the third. Not even the second, because Kotkaniemi and Jack Hughes are both good players, and they could go 1-2 no matter what. You want to get the third or the fourth somehow, and then not care, because it's not your pick anymore. It's Colorado from Ottawa, then Los Angeles at 13.5, New Jersey at 11.5, and then Buffalo at 9.5. And Edmonton, in case you're wondering, has a 6% chance at the first overall pick. And then it's interesting, a team like Arizona, who right now could easily make the playoffs, or Montreal, has a 1% chance. So for a team that could make the playoffs, or just we haven't seen that yet, a team on the fringe, and just doesn't make the playoffs. So right now we'll go with. See, I want Arizona to make the playoffs. I can't say that. A little bias here on Trent Radio. Never, no bias. The Montreal Canadiens right now have 92 points. Let's say they don't make the playoffs. Carey Price couldn't do everything. He can't stop physically every puck. They don't make the playoffs. That's too bad. We'll go for it next year. Oh, we get Jack Hughes. We get Kotkaniemi. Ooh. That'd be a nice pickup for a team that's just on the fringe. It's kind of like Philadelphia Flyers picked up Nolan Patrick, third overall. I think it was second or third overall. And of course they're out of a playoff spot now, and haven't been good or relevant in the past couple of years. A little dig at the Flyers there. Still a nice pickup. Same with the Devils got Nico Hischier. Yeah, crazier things have happened. And of course, like I said, most teams have at least 79 games played. Some have 80. So we're literally down to the last 3 games of the NHL season. And the playoff spots are all pretty well wrapped up. It's going to be Boston, Toronto. Excuse me, sorry. Oh, sorry about that. Late night, I guess. This is the grind time of the semester. Last week. You know what it is. Anywho, it'll be Boston, Toronto first round. Pittsburgh. It looks like the Pittsburgh and the Islanders first round. Could change with Columbus. Are 3 points behind Pittsburgh, and they both have the same amount of games played at 79. So that would be, they could get 6 more points. We'll see there. It'll probably end up being Pittsburgh Islanders. And then in the wild card, it'll be Carolina, Tampa, Washington, Columbus. And then in the West, it would be St. Louis and Nashville, San Jose and Vegas, and then the Flames and Colorado, and then the Jets and Dallas Stars. So good kind of first round matchups. Definitely the interdivision matchups are better than the wild card and first place matchups. Those almost just feel like a placeholder, to me at least, like Winnipeg, Dallas. There's nothing there. It's just Winnipeg and Dallas. They play in the same conference. You would think that Winnipeg would beat them. Tampa Bay and I think it was not Montreal. Tampa Bay, Carolina. Like, there's nothing there. They just play in the same conference. That's it. So right now, you're just, like, playing to get through it, essentially, in my opinion. But last night, the Leafs, of course, played the New York Islanders. They beat them 2-1. And it was more than just a victory on the score sheet. It was a personal victory for John Tavares, who finally got a victory over the New York Islanders and in the same clinched the playoff spot for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Of course, this means so this will be the second year in a row and the third time in its last 4 playoff appearances that the Toronto Maple Leafs will face the Boston Bruins in the first round. The Leafs tied a franchise record last night with their 23rd road win of the season, and they have a chance to break that on the final day, Saturday, when they take Montreal in Canada. I almost said in Canada, when they take the Canadiens on in Montreal. Of course, the Leafs, as we all know, haven't won a playoff series since 2004 when they beat the Ottawa Senators. Little dig there at the Senators, this is the third longest drought in the NHL currently. But sorry about that. We'll edit that out. Hopefully. I can't really edit that out live. That just means just don't do it. Of course, Tavares got the game-winning goal last night, meaning he has officially scored on all 31 teams in the NHL. Calle Rosen got called up for the game last night to play defense, scored his first NHL goal. And, they really had to wait a long time for the last 3 games to clinch a or last 3 or 4 games to clinch a playoff spot. And in Toronto's first 2 games against the Islanders this season, the Leafs have been outscored 10-1. Yeah. Sorry, I don't know why I questioned that. Yeah, it's 10-1. And of course, Garrett Sparks played both those games, which isn't kind of unfair to Sparks, but the Leafs haven't looked good against the Islanders all season, and it's nice to see them get a win for Tavares. Like, if he had no one against them, it wouldn't have been a big deal, but like, it's just like the moral thing and like the feeling of I can move on. I mean, he already moved on. He's in Toronto now, but there was a video came out last night of a fan, a New York Islanders fan, getting really upset and like screaming at Tavares, saying you're a loser, you're a loser, you always will be. Kept saying like you always will be, but he was wearing a John Tavares jersey with the Islanders, and he paid to watch John Tavares and the Toronto Maple Leafs play against his New York Islanders, and he's chirping the guy because he's a loser. I think he's a winner because he's gonna make the playoffs. So are the Islanders. Don't get me wrong, but I just don't understand the mentality of you're a loser, you always have been, and you always will be. So he was a loser on the Islanders. I just don't get. Like, I can understand why you'd be mad that this guy left your team, but everybody's taking it so personally. They're acting like he betrayed them. Like, sure, he's like, when he gets asked, I know this is rehashing very old conversations, but it keeps coming up. If if you asked an athlete, are you planning on staying here next year? He's not going to go, no, I want to get the hell out of here. I'm leaving as soon as July 1st happens. Nobody's going to say that. And if they do, fire their PR person or their agent, because you shouldn't say that, because that creates stuff worse than this. But Tavares said, I like the island. I've loved what they've done for me while I'm here. They've treated me really well. I'm going to try to stay here. Did he get a better offer somewhere else? Yes. Did he get a better financial offer? And money-wise, no. But he got a chance to play on a better team and a better team for the next few years. The Islanders made the playoffs. Good for them. Without him, good for them. Great for them. You want to see them do good. You want to see every team in the NHL do good. But to give it to, sure, give it to Tavares a little bit, but remember what he did for your team. And, just be an adult. All these people are adults screaming at him and treating him like what? Getting mad at him because he left their team? Oh, boo-hoo. Happens to every Toronto franchise for the longest time. This is the first time a big free agent has come to Toronto. Toronto's lost Chris Bosh. We lost Roy Halladay to the Phillies. We traded him. I shouldn't say we. Toronto traded him. I get that. But they still lost him. Edwin Encarnacion. I'm just going through, David Price wouldn't sign back in Toronto. The Leafs, they lost Matt because they wouldn't give him a deal. Now this just looks bad because I don't know anymore. But, for me, the biggest one's Chris Bosh. Vince Carter didn't want to play in Toronto. And Vince Carter is loved every time he comes here. Loved. They treat it like this is the last time. We got to care about Vince. Is his jersey going to get put in the rafters? What about Chris Bosh's? Is his going to get put in the rafters? How about we just celebrate who came to Toronto and who's going to play in Toronto? If Kawhi Leonard stays in Toronto, that's huge. As big as Tavares was, Kawhi Leonard's bigger. In the end, though, to wrap that all up, I just think the fact that they're just the way they're treating John Tavares is so disrespectful to a guy that gave them almost everything to where they are now and helped put the Islanders. The Islanders are a great franchise. They've had good history. Have they had good recent history? No. But Tavares tried to make them good. He was there to make it good. It wasn't his fault. He didn't have anyone around him. And to blame it all on him, I think, is just absurd, idiotic, and childish. And that's all I'm going to say on that. We'll be talking about it later. Probably if the Islanders and Toronto play in the playoffs. I'll be honest, that would be an amazing series to watch. But we'll have to wait and see. And of course, last night I said, I want to get to this here before we go to a quick break. Here, where we will go into the MLB season beginning. We were talking about the Islanders game last night. Calle Rosen got called up, played his first NHL game, and scored his first NHL goal. And here's the call. Let's play the volume. That might be a good idea, Jim. Oh, turn the volume up on the mic board. You know what?
Hold on.
We're not professional yet. We're just SportsBreak. So here's Calle Rosen's first goal last night.
Goes up on the wing, comes to the point. Here's Rosen, scores! Calle Rosen, his first NHL goal. What a moment for Calle Rosen. First game of the season, 5th career game, and he's got his first NHL goal and a memory of a lifetime.
And Leonard, he just tries to club it. I think he sees.
So I kept saying it was his first NHL game. Of course, I was wrong. Usually am here on SportsBreak. But it was his first NHL goal. So great for Calle Rosen. And the Leafs have 2 more games left. They play Carolina on Wednesday, and then they play Montreal on Saturday. They've clinched the playoff spot. They're not getting any higher in the division. In my opinion, if you're Mike Babcock in the Toronto Maple Leafs, Freddie Anderson's done. You shut him down, set him down. He looks tired. I didn't watch the game last night. I was doing homework. Shout out to the parents so they hear that. In my opinion, at least, you sit Freddie down for the next 2 games. And if he doesn't feel fresh, if he thinks he needs to play fresh, you let him play against Carolina, and you let him play the first period or the first half of the game, and then you put in Garrett Sparks. There's just no need for injury here anymore. We're way too close. The Leafs are way too close to the playoffs. And to play him and he gets hurt, Sparks, I don't trust at all. Most people don't trust at all. That's my opinion, at least. Montreal, of course, it could go down to the final game for them to get into the playoffs, which would be amazing. Because you always love that, the last day of the NHL season. If it doesn't mean anything, who cares? And who's going to watch? I won't. Or I will, but you just don't care as much. Whereas if it's we have to win this game to make the playoffs, it just puts a different fire in the players. It just creates a better atmosphere when all the fans know it, and everybody watching the game knows it, that like they have to win. And if the Leafs can play devil's advocate and be like, yeah, sorry, Habs, you're not going to make the playoffs. We're just going to beat you and you won't win. To me, that would be amazing, in my opinion. But I guess we'll see. That's this weekend, of course. Saturday, the final day. And then I believe the NHL playoffs begin April 12th. I'm not 100% sure on that, but that we will get that for sure next show. We will break down the playoffs and everything heading into it next show, next week, after the NHL season's all done. But for now, we're going to go into a quick break here. We will talk about the MLB season. Coming up after the break here, going to play a song called Stick Out by the Door, it's about the Humboldt Broncos by Smitty Kingston. We've played it before here on air. And, of course, Saturday, April 6th, is the 1 year, for lack of a better term, anniversary of the Humboldt Broncos accident in, of course, Humboldt, Saskatchewan. The accident that cost the lives of the Humboldt Broncos players on the bus, and we just found out the driver was found guilty or admitted to guilt of the accident. I don't remember his sentence, doesn't matter. But yeah, Stick Out by the Door, Humboldt Strong by Smitty Kingston. We'll be right back here, ladies and gentlemen, for your Sports Break on 92.7 C Triple FM, broadcasted through the facilities here at Trent Radio in the beautiful Peterborough, Canada. The weather outside today is still 1 degrees, a little chilly. I would put a sweater on if I was here in Peterborough, if I were you outside, or a coat, whatever floats your boat, Before the break, of course, we were talking about the NHL season, heading into the NHL playoffs, and the Toronto Maple Leafs clinching a playoff spot. And, good for, the Toronto sports market. The Raptors kind of clinched the spot a while ago. They didn't mathematically clinch it, but we know. That's the one thing about the NBA. The Leafs, you kind of assume they were going to make the playoffs. Here they are. They clinched for sure. And they're going to face Boston first round. And it is what it is. We'll see how that goes. See if they can break the routine of going to Game 7 and losing and choking. It's up to the Leafs now. Ball's in their court. Puck's on their stick. And like we have done all season for shows, is we always start with the injury problem in the NHL. Not too many injuries. Victor Hedman was the big one. The MLB, it's taken over its role. The past couple weeks have been full. Well, it happens on opening day and the days around it. People feel kind of ready in spring training. They play games. The adrenaline's up. They want to play their best. And they go all out for the first couple games. And maybe they hurt themselves. Or they weren't fully healthy from spring training. Or they weren't fully healthy from the offseason. Or sometimes it's just a freak injury and it happens. If you remember last year, of course, Josh Donaldson came into opening day for the Blue Jays with dead arm. And Gibby was like, oh yeah, nope, dead arm. Just can't throw. He'll get over it. And he didn't. And then it was the calf thing again. And that's a whole thing with Josh Donaldson. He made an amazing play last night in Atlanta. Going off a tangent here. If you're a Blue Jays fan and Josh Donaldson performs well this year, I don't know how you can't not be happy. He's just a guy in baseball to love. He plays with a passion. Plays with his heart on his sleeve. And is a good baseball player. Good hitter. One of the best, I'd say. When he's on. Like most guys, but he has his streaks where he's not on. Amazing barehanded play last night to finish the game for the Braves. And I don't know. For me as a Jays fan, wish him the best. A team you don't wish the best for is the New York Yankees, who third baseman Miguel Andujar has a small labrum tear in his right shoulder. And it sounds like season-ending surgery is possible and what is going to happen. He's going to be treated conservatively for the next 2 weeks. They're hoping he can avoid surgery and play, but it's not a... It's a really tough thing to come back from. From what I've read online, at least, a lot of guys say it's a surgery for a year. You're taking this season off, and next season you're going to play most of it as the DH. You're not going to be able to throw a whole lot, just so you don't tear it more or make it worse. I guess that's the same thing, but it's a very sensitive injury. It's kind of like a Tommy John or like an ACL, MCL. You just don't mess with it, and hopefully the Yankees take this carefully, as I'm sure they would. Don't push anything. They can get a third baseman, whether it's in free agency, trade, whatever. They're the team that could do it. Wish the best for Miguel Andujar. Has a great bat, not as great fielding. Working on it all season, all off season. Maybe that contributed to this, maybe not. You just wish the best for a young guy like this. But the Yankees have been hit hard with the injury stick to begin the season. Monday, also Giancarlo Stanton was put on the 10-day DL with a left bicep strain. They both joined Aaron Hicks, CC Sabathia, Dellin Betances, Luis Severino, Didi Gregorius, Jordan Montgomery, and Jacoby Ellsbury, who all started the season on the injured list, which is what the MLB calls it now. The Yankees have $85 million worth of injured players on their payroll right now. And some of these guys are supposed to come back soon. CC's not supposed to be out too much longer. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if CC came back in April. Same with Betances. It sounds like Louis is not to the end of May. Didi's not till after the All-Star break. He had Tommy John. Aaron Hicks, I'm not sure about. They haven't said a whole lot. But yeah, if you're the Yankees, now you got to fight and grind to win. You still got your guys. You still got Gary Sanchez, Aaron Judge, Brett Gardner, like Luke Voigt. You got your guys. You don't have your big guys left. And the rotation's tough, but they'll do it. It's the Yankees. They'll find a way. It's the 29, it's the Yankees. I don't know what else to say. It's very cliche, but it's the Yankees. The Angels, who, of course, after the Mike Trout extension, felt like they could defeat the world, are going to be without outfielder Justin Upton for 8 to 12 weeks. After a further evaluation from a doctor, who's going to take 8 to 12 weeks off with a toe injury, which always sounds weird to me, toe injuries, but they happen, I guess. Of course, last year he had 30 home runs, 85 RBIs in his first season with the Angels. You don't want to, 8 to 12 weeks for a toe injury. How? I couldn't imagine as a player. That would suck. You're like, everything else feels fine. I feel great. My toe hurts. Yeah, just, 8 to 12 weeks. 2 months. 2 to 3 months. The Milwaukee Brewers are going to be without Corey Nebel for this season and part of next. They're hoping he'll be ready for 2020 season. He is elected to undergo Tommy John surgery. He said he's had discomfort in it from 5 years. He said he could have pitched this season, but it just would have hurt too much, and he doesn't want his arm to hurt forever. Because if it hurts this season and you get Tommy John this offseason, there's no guaranteeing it won't not hurt or ache. He's been dealing with the injury in his UCL, which is his ulnar collateral ligament of his throwing elbow for the longest time now. Not the longest time, for the past 5 years. Milwaukee's also without Jeremy Jeffries, who has shoulder discomfort. He's still a couple weeks away. Excuse me. Who's their closer? The Brewers missed him last year, and it hit them. You need a good bullpen. And, of course, Josh Hader is performing amazing this season. He has only thrown fastballs. I believe he's thrown 41 pitches. He has 3 saves. And he's only 46 pitches, and they've all been fastballs. But he has one of the best sliders in the league as a left-handed reliever. One of the best. Him and Adam Ovino with the Yankees. 2 amazing sliders. Just amazing. Of last year, he threw 79% of his fastball. And this year, it's 100% so far. But as we mentioned on earlier shows, the Brewers have had ongoing conversations with Craig Kimbrell, who, yes, is still a free agent. Him and Dallas Keuchel, which just blows you away. These guys are all-stars, Cy Young winners. Dallas Keuchel won a Cy Young. Craig Kimbrell is one of the best closers of this generation, potentially of all time, on pace to be. At least he's already on pace. He's better than Mo on pace, and doesn't have a contract. So if he signs now, I don't know how long it takes him to get into games, how long he's been practicing, staying warm and ready. But yeah, for the Brewers, I don't know why you don't go for Craig Kimbrell. Sign him for a year and be like, be our guy. Josh Hader will set you up for a couple innings, and then you go in and shut it down. Yeah, the Brewers, though, have, like, they've had an alright start to the season. Christian Yelich has homered in 4 straight games. 5 is the record. I don't remember if he got 5 last night. You think I should, but here we are. And last week we talked about all of the MLB extensions. Everybody signed with everybody. And believe it or not, it doesn't end. The Red Sox extended Xander Bogaerts. I don't know why that took so long. So I saw the word, but I couldn't read it. They re-signed Xander Bogaerts to a 6-year contract extension that'll span the 2020 to 2025 season. It appears to be worth $132 million and an opt-out clause after the 2022 season. Bogaerts will make $12 million in the 2019 season, but through 2020 and 2025, he will earn reportedly $120 million should he not exercise his option. So that's $20 million. I didn't even have to get my calculator out. I'm trying to, but my phone's not working. I just did the quick math in your head. Maybe you already did that. $120 million over 6 years equals $20 million a year. Cubs extended Kyle Hendricks to a 4-year contract extension. He will earn $12 million in 2020 and then $14 for the rest of his contract. He's a very interesting guy pitching. He's kind of like Marco Estrada for the Blue Jays, who doesn't throw hard, but is so accurate, and just like his off speed is amazing. He's a guy that like doesn't put a lot of stress on his arm when he throws like that. He just does really well. Of course, he was drafted by the Chicago Cubs he was drafted by the Rangers in 2011, has played for the Cubs. And with an old rotation that they have, with guys like Cole Hamels, John Lester, Jose Quintana, he's a younger guy, 29 though, like not that young, who's going to be around for hopefully, at least the next 4 years, but a while after that, and try to get the Cubs back to what they are. I know they've started this season good, but like didn't make the playoffs last year, or they made the wild card and then lost. Yeah, we'll have to see where the Cubs go this season. It's a long season, of course, but it'll be very interesting. At least last year, I remember I was surprised they missed. But the rotation's not what it used to be. The bullpen, still, they're missing their closer, Brandon Morrow, who was overused. You can easily tell now was overused in the Dodgers series against the Astros 2 years ago. Yeah, interesting things in Chicago. A team to watch out for. I didn't talk about it when I was talking with the Brewers. That's a team to bet on to win the World Series, in my personal opinion. Now, of course, with Corey Neville out, does that affect it? Maybe. That's who I would bet on, and that's who I have bet on to win the World Series this year. Letting out my secrets, kinda, but yeah, Brewers, man, join the Brew Crew. Scott Boras, who some people might know, is the huge MLB agent who tries to get his guys huge contracts. He was Bryce Harper, Manny Machado's agent, JD Martinez, Max Scherzer, Steven Strasburg, all these guys. And he kind of let out a little tidbit yesterday, just a little tidbit, that JD Martinez, who of course signed with the Boston Red Sox last year, and is signed for a while, but as many big contracts do, he has an opt-out after the this season and after the 2020 season. And there's a good chance that he will opt out, is what Scott Boras has said. He said this guy is some kind of hitter. He and Anthony Rendon, who is also a Boras client, are probably going to be the two most focused on offensive players on the market as far as guys who are elite offensive players. And then he quickly followed it up with, yeah, not that I think about those things. Of course, the Red Sox and Martinez haven't discussed reworking the contract. But for him to go to free agency would be huge, because it's a free agent market that has dwindled since everyone has re-signed with their teams this season. It's Anthony Rendon's free agency to run with. And after what this past offseason's free agency was supposed to be, and in my opinion how lackluster it was, this would be huge for the MLB. Like MLB, you can sell it on. That's why the NBA is so popular. Is because like people move around. LeBron just goes to whatever team he feels like. Hates it. Is a child there. But yeah, everyone just moves about. Where in the MLB and in the NHL, they don't really do that. Free agency is not huge. But this season, there's a lot of players that can opt out and go to free agency. Steven Strasburg, Aroldis Chapman, Kenley Jansen, JD Martinez, of course, Yu Darvish. Not that he would ever. Yu Darvish has performed terribly in Chicago. I don't know why I didn't mention him when I was talking about their rotation. But he's getting paid $22 million. He's never going to opt out of that. Jose Abreu is a free agent. Nelson Cruz has a team option. Probably they might not. But like Garrett Cole is going to be the top pitching. Didi Gregorius. The list just goes on and on. Yasiel Puig's a free agent. Brian Dozier, Matt Carpenter has a team option who the Cardinals will definitely take. But yeah, if JD Martinez opts out, there's a good chance he'll get paid pretty good money. If he stays on contract with the team, he'll make $23.75 million if he doesn't use the option for the 2020 season. Yeah, this season he's getting $23 million, and after that one, if he stays, and then the last 2 years of his deal, he's getting 19.37. Could he make more? Probably, if he opts out. Maybe he loves the Red Sox. Lord knows that the Red Sox players love the Red Sox. Like, I've never seen a group, other than the fans, they love the Red Sox, and they just embody that, like, the Boston way is all I'm going to say. Just the Boston athletes have a certain era about them. Aura, you know what I'm saying. And it doesn't have anything to do with it, but it's like Barstool. If you ever pay attention to Barstool Sports, there's a certain aura around there that, like, they are the best. And they might not win every game, but they're the best. And they just need the playoffs to show that. Tom Brady's an example, like a perfect example of it. Like, you can hate me all you want. We're just gonna win. And that's, to me, that's the Boston way. And that's why Boston's one of the best sports markets. As simple as that. But to get away from Boston, because that's not my job to talk about them. Of course, Thursday was MLB opening day. The Blue Jays played the Tigers in the opening day series. And right before, didn't really see it coming, they traded Kendrys Morales to the Oakland Athletics for minor league infielder Jesus Lopez and international signing bonus, which was $1 million for the Blue Jays. The Athletics are expecting Morales to play first base for them. The Blue Jays are paying for some of his contract, which isn't a huge deal. It's not a lot of money. They're covering, it's around $10 million of his $12 million salary. But for the Blue Jays, you kind of get him off to give more time. It gave Rowdy Tellez a job, essentially. And he's performed pretty well for the Blue Jays so far, kind of. I don't know, the Blue Jays bats haven't been there this season so far to start. I know it just started, but like against the Tigers team, in the first 4 of 5 games for the Blue Jays, they have not recorded a hit with the first 9 batters, and then they get a hit after that. But there's one game where Brandon Drury, leading off, got a hit, and then the next 9 Blue Jays batters got out. So, got to get going on that. If you're the Blue Jays, got to get the bats alive. With trading Morales, they've also discussed trading Kevin Pillar, which would mean that either Anthony Alford would come up probably, but they also have like Teoscar Hernandez, Billy McKinney, and Randall Grichuk, who could easily handle the outfield. And if you did watch the games, they lost opening day, extra innings, but they did win the next game. And for Charlie Montoya, it was his first win as a big league manager. He said on Saturday morning that he had like 300 or 400 people text him, congratulating him. Excuse me. He tried to spend as much time as he could texting the back saying thanks, because he didn't want to get too big for. He didn't want people to think that he was too big to respond to them. But that's going to take a long time for him to respond to everything. The Blue Jays looked good though in the 2 wins that they had. Like Aaron Sanchez looked great. Marcus Stroman even looked really good in the loss. Matt Shoemaker looked amazing. I've watched the games, trying to watch. I don't know if everyone else has watched them, what the Blue Jays have done good. Trent Thornton made his debut on Sunday. He struck 8 batters over 5 scoreless innings, and he set the Blue Jays record for strikeouts by a pitcher in his first major league start. He did really good. I don't know. It was really fun to watch. He's got the weirdest delivery. I kind of hated watching it. It kind of bothered me. But no, it was great to see him debut. Same with Elvis Luciano, who debuted that day at the age of 19, but he's born in 2000, which, as a guy born in 1999, at the age of 19, turning 20, to watch a guy like that pitch that young, but he also faced Miguel Cabrera. Like, are you kidding me? One of the best hitters of the past 10 years. Could go down as, like, he's going to get 3,000 hits. It's just the thing it is. And he got to face him, and he got him out, and then he got a strikeout? Are you kidding me? It was just amazing to see, and, like, this is the first time ever where younger athletes are playing in the major leagues that I watch. It's always been older. Now I just feel old, and, like, I haven't done anything. But, you know, that's what it is. So great for Trent Thornton, Luciano. The one thing, I'm going to get to more, but the one thing you got to remember with this young team, they're performing okay now, the younger players. They're going to stink at some point, and you can't lose it on them, because if you do, that doesn't help anyone. That's the one thing you got to try to remember, and I try to remember too, as a fan, is these young guys will perform great at some moments, but then just be utter garbage because they're young and they don't know. And you just got to go with it. That's part of having a young team. It's part of like a rebuild, a tank, whatever you want to call this, a retool for the Blue Jays. They're going to stink at some point. And I'll be honest, they're going to stink most of the time. But it's when they're good and what they learn from being good, and more importantly, what they learn from being bad, that'll make them better and make them a playoff team. If you look, the Astros are a perfect example. They gave the young guys a chance, and they sucked for a bunch of years. And then they were freaking amazing. The Cubs did the same thing. Yankees kind of did the same thing. They sucked for a couple years. But they're the Yankees. Like, they just did what they wanted. The MLB will always work out for the Yankees. That's the thing. And the Red Sox did the same thing. They sucked for a couple years. Do I know why the Blue Jays made the playoffs in 2015 and 2016? One, they had okay teams. 2015, they had a better team. But it was because both Boston and New York sucked. They were one of the worst teams in the league. But now they're good. And the Blue Jays can't contend with that. Not yet. We got a guy coming up in Vladdy Guerrero Jr., Bo Bichette. Some young pitching that's going to take some time to face Major League bats, and get up to standard. And it's going to be good. Blue Jays have a good future coming, but for now, you just got to stick with the pain. Like Mike Babcock says, you know, there's going to be pain. It's going to hurt. But it's going to be real good. I don't know what that was. That was my attempt at Mike Babcock, you know. The Blue Jays, though, we're wrapping up here. We're losing time here on SportsBreak. Today, of course, we've been discussing the Blue Jays and their start to the season. One thing that stood out for me was that Charlie Montoya, who put in the video game thing, which I think's fine. Like, you just don't play video games right before the game, whatever. Before the game, a starting pitcher who's going to pitch that day does a bullpen. He'll throw 20, 30 pitches max. Just see what's moving and what's not, what's working for him. His thing now that he's introduced is all the starters go and watch. All the starters not starting will watch the starting pitcher for the day and let him know what's working. Let him know that you're there for him and you're supporting him, and giving him a towel, piece of gum, whatever it needs, just as an act of support. And then when they walk out to start, all the starters walk out together. And then the starters sit together on the bench. Does it kind of create a group? I think it does. I think it's a good thing to get all the starters working together. And it just creates a group. I don't know, a really good group. I think it's a great idea by Charlie Montoya. Other teams do it around the league. The Blue Jays just kind of implemented it. But yeah, like it kind of looks intimidating. You got this gang of starters, and they're all working together to get you out. Instead of just one guy every day, it's all 5 guys, 5 eyes working together. And if you see, they'll occasionally shine the camera on the bench, and they'll see the 4 starters, and they all got a baseball in their hand. and they're all talking about who's pitch or who's at bat and how they would get him out, and you can just see in their mind they're pitching, and sometimes they'll move their hands, they're like getting ready for a pitch. Like, it's just amazing. It's one thing to look forward to with the Blue Jays. If you can get this core, that's what you need. You need a core group and people that like each other. And all of these starters, I'll be honest, other than Ryan Barucki and Sean Reed-Foley, Trent Thornton probably won't be around when the Blue Jays are in the playoffs. But for now, you need that core to help the young guys. I think it's a great thing for Charlie Montoya. He's done a great job so far. It's also only been 5 games. There's a lot of baseball left. And yeah, that's all you got to remember here is there's a lot of baseball left. And the Blue Jays, it's going to be a tough season. But just watch and enjoy it. The young guys get better. But that is all the time we have today for your Sports Break broadcast at 92.7 C Triple FM through the facilities here at Trent Radio in the beautiful Peterborough, Canada. If you've missed previous shows, you can catch up on Twitter at SportsBreakTR. We'll be back next Tuesday at 9 a.m. for another show. Final show of the season, ladies and gentlemen. I know, it's sad. I'm sad. We will talk about the NHL season, the MLB season, the Toronto Blue Jays. We'll kick off the NHL playoffs. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, to check your smoke and carbon monoxide alarms. Thank you for your time this time, and until next time, so long for a while. Have a good day.